that movie called again? I don't know. Below the Clouds, and then we start recording. Don't include any obligatory, like, vape shots anymore. Because they're faggy. You're probably gonna just fucking vape this one here too, aren't you? Actually, I'm gonna edit every video.
Wait, I thought the vodka was empty. Yeah, we got too much up.
You're doing a lot right now. Hey everybody, welcome to part 2 of the Breen-a-thon Drunk View. Today we watched Neil Breen's fourth film, Pass Through.
His most recent. Yeah.
His most recent film, Pass Through, his fourth film.
What year was the film?
2016.
Oh, that recent.
His new film is in post-production right now, though.
Yeah.
You read it.
That's what they're saying. Anyway, Aiden, what's the plot of Pass Through?
Pass Through stars Neil Breen, of course. Written, directed, produced by, casting by, makeup by, catering by.
Everything.
Neil Breen. Editing, special effects, all Neil Breen. And it's about a bunch of Mexicans coming over the border, but most of them aren't Mexican, a lot of them are white or black, but they come over the border and they get put in shipping crates, and then a AI alien time traveler thing teleports into the body of a homeless drug addict who lives in a rusty Winnebago in the desert. And this AI has magical god powers that lets it turn people into dust. They just disappear in the movie, but he says that they turn into dust, so I assume that's what he's supposed to be doing, vaporizing them. And he sits in the desert with one of the illegal immigrants.
And the tiger.
And a tiger.
And the black girl.
And the black girl. And
who's also an illegal immigrant. I guess I was just being racist.
And a bunch of other illegal immigrants all sit in Neil Breen's bedroom on one mattress.
They're his side of the road free mattress with holes. It looks like a rat ate through it.
And then he talks to the girl, and for some reason he kills corrupt businessmen because it's a Neil Breen movie. And he goes to he kills the president and a bunch of other people.
Well, he also frees other Mexicans.
He frees the Mexicans. He goes to some people's mansion, which is just a bad green screen. And there's like 6 people at this party, but they all appear at different times and never all on the same screen at the same time. And they're standing in front of a mansion that looks suspiciously like stock photos on a green screen. And then they talk about
20 minutes.
They talk about how evil they are repeatedly. They're like, I'm scamming my customers. Ha ha. And then Neil Breen leaves the house and says, and they're like, who was that guy? And then he makes the mansion explode. And then he kills some news people because they laughed at a politician or something. And then
now they're back in the desert.
They stand in the desert for a while, and then the Mexican girl's ex-husband comes and says, "You're abusive," and gets shot to death. And then he brings her back to life, and also this lesbian and her black son get shot to death, and he brings them back to life. And the black girl gets shot, and he brings her back to life. And then he says, "We're going to the better place." And him and the girl, he cures some guy who lives in a cave of PTSD, some guy who hadn't appeared in the movie before that.
Well, he was the ghost man. He knew how to make ghost shadows. That, but you don't remember that part?
I kind of remember that. I remember seeing black things cross the screen and being like, what the fuck is this supposed to be?
The PTSD guy is like, you are now cured. He's like, thanks.
Thanks for curing me. No, he says, you are now cured of your PTSD. And he
Thanks
says,
for curing me.
Thanks for curing me. And doesn't appear anymore. And then Neil Breen walks through a field of 10 bodies, copy and paste it 1,000 times. Well, the Aurora Borealis is in the background, but you can see the stars through it even though it's daylight because he couldn't find any footage of the Aurora Borealis in the daytime, and there's like a red dot in the sky. And then it ends. So, in conclusion, I'm not really sure what happened. Connor, what did you think of Neil Breen's pass-through?
Pass-through was a lot worse than Fateful Findings. Fateful Findings was still the most retarded movie I've ever seen. This movie was pretty fucking retarded. But what this movie didn't have going for it that Fatal Findings had is it wasn't as funny. It was boring. Half the time he was sitting in this massive crop circle he created out of stones that must have taken him hours.
Spinning in
He
circles
stood there,
like
he's
an
spinning
asshole.
in circles. There weren't any like weird naked trash bag scenes like in the first movie or the last movie we saw. And he kind of just lounges
But he
around
caught
the
drone
desert
footage.
saying, "I'm an alien." Oh yeah, and there's really choppy drone footage that. How many frames per second could that be? Like, it looked like it was like 11 or 12 frames per second drone footage, and he thought it was so impressive. And you can see like the wind like shaking it. He wants it to be like these wide epic shots, and it's just like the drone's like shaking and like going around. And it's like, all right. I was kind of confused why he had 40 of his extras lay down on the rat-infested fucking mattress. Literally torn to pieces, looked like it was soiled with diarrhea. This whole fucking movie, man, it was boring. Like,
Yeah.
but more than anything, I don't see the plot. The plot is that these Mexicans were captured. This is what I gathered. The plot was these Mexicans were gathered up. Some of them escaped and found Neil Breen. Neil Breen saves the other Mexicans. That plot's dropped. It's kind of a Neil Breen thing where a plot might last 20 minutes for one of his movies. Neil Breen drops the Mexican plot, and then he kills these politicians because it's a Neil Breen movie. And then the fucking ex-husband finds him in the middle of the desert. Oh, there's also the astronomer kids with the wheelchair guy.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
Their
that.
plot
They're not
made no
important at
sense. He's
all.
like, "You guys are my friends," and then they're like, "Thanks," and that was their plot. It's like, okay, like this movie, and it actually managed to look worse than his last movie. I don't know if he's like,
There's
okay.
no lighting ever.
Well, there was no lighting for one, but with this movie, he's like, okay, I spent like 70 grand on Fateful Findings, and I had sex with a bunch of like 25-year-old girls, and wrote a part in the movie where a 16-year-old girl wants to have sex with me. I'm really in hot water with my wife with all the money I've been spending. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spend like
Half of that.
40 or 30,000 on this movie instead, but unfortunately that only allows me to make this movie more boring than fucking piss. The last movie was funny bad. This movie was boring, and it definitely had its funny moments. Like every time the fucking tiger came on screen, it's like, is this symbolism? Is the tiger actually there? What's with the fucking tiger? Is it because he's a fucking tiger? This movie made no fucking sense at all. The bodies was definitely an interesting part. When the aurora lights, you could see the fucking stars, even though it was fucking... You could still see the outline of the sky behind him, so it was obviously daytime, and it was light out. This movie was pretty fucking terrible.
Did you say all the special effects were made by him?
Yeah, everything was done by Neil Breen per the last movie. Yep, and the credits had the same gimmick where he has all these fake companies listed, and then he's like, "It's me." And it's like, okay, cool. So Wolfie, what did you think of what you saw of what this fucking movie called?
Passed spelled
through.
incorrectly.
Pass
THRU.
through, as in like a McDonald's drive, THRU. What did you think of Pass Through?
It was. I didn't get to see all of it. It was just
You didn't miss anything.
missing.
You pretty much saw the gist of it.
Like the acting, what I saw, just it's like he went down to like the theater group. Was like, hey, you guys want to make $20 for the day?
You guys want to make $20 a day?
And then went
They
to
spend like $40 in gas to get out to the middle of the desert.
just anybody's like, hey, we're going out to the desert when they're getting gas. It's like, we're going out. You want to be in our movie? I guess he's like, we're making omelets. You get yourself an omelet made by me. I feel like that's how they got the casting.
Guaranteed, he went on Craigslist and he's like, this is a real production, and he's like, I'm working with these companies, and they're all the companies that start with N or B. He's like, we're even catered by Neil fucking Breen Eats or whatever it's called.
Fast and
Fast
or
and
something.
quick, good food. And he's like, alright, I need to run to the gas station and pick up as many eggs as you guys have for the fucking omelets I'm making these motherfuckers on the fire.
Then you also pointed out the
Time for hot dogs. Gather round.
It's like, hey guys, before we do this scene, I want you guys to know this scene I'm spinning around in circles, so I need you guys to start doing manual labor to make this huge ass crop circle in the desert. Anyway, let's keep going.
Then the jump cuts it was just like a jump cut at the same angle that you also pointed out. It just looks choppy and like
Sloppy.
just poorly put together. And then I just the part where they're just thousands of bodies and it was just the same 15 people.
You could like the red shirt and the fucking striped shirt. Like some of it was like, okay, the people in less conspicuous things, but then you see the person with the red shirt and the striped shirt and it's so fucking obvious.
And then like I don't even know if he understands what kind of movie it was. Like it was just
Oh, I know. He totally knows what he was going for. And he probably thought he aced it, too. He's like, great.
I think he thinks he's some kind of David Lynch, but
Yeah.
he's more of a Tommy.
I mean, I think Tommy strives to... I think Tommy's glad he can make a better movie than this by far. Although part of it's probably budget. Tommy had a higher budget than Neil, probably.
Tommy had $6 million.
I like
Neil
how
probably did not.
I like how when the ex-boyfriend or husband
Oh yeah, the ex-husband just shows up out of fucking nowhere.
walks up, like the one lady was talking. I don't know what made me laugh so much. Like the guy walks up with a gun and starts yelling at his ex-wife, and then there's that black lady with him, and like she didn't even notice that he was there, even though he was screaming. He's like, "That's my ex-boy or ex-husband," and then she turns around surprised, like she didn't even notice him. That made me laugh.
And I don't think that was established. Like, let's think about this from a logical storytelling perspective. How did they get there? Like, how did they get to the point where the ex-husband's like, I'm fucking mad at this bitch. Then he's like, I know where she's probably at. She's probably in the middle of the fucking desert. Crossing the border! She crossed the border. Did that guy come from Mexico or something?
Yeah, and then he found her in the middle of the desert in a homeless man's Winnebago.
He shoots his ex-wife and then the black lady too, and they start to like lay down, and then jump cut to them laying on the ground, and then
yeah, that was so awkward.
he points the gun at the homeless guy,
Neil Breen.
and he's like, "You can't hurt me," and then he just points the gun to himself.
He has a thing for those scenes where people kill themselves, and I have two
does.
more things I want to point out. First off, there was this thing this movie did where it would be the same static shot and they would do a jump cut. Like, it doesn't work in movies at all, where you're like doing something and then it like his arm would be like here and then it jumps to the same angle and his arm is up here. Like, it doesn't fucking work, and it looked fucking terrible every time. And I also want to point out that this is probably the least effective use of green screen I've ever seen in a movie.
It looks real bad.
It looks fucking terrible.
And then where his like love interest was like that 25-year-old, and then they had like that long extended like pinky touching scene of his old wrinkly hand and then her just 25-year-old hand.
Oh, all right. So, do you have anything else to add, Wolfie?
I can't think of that much more. There's like no storyline. I can't even understand.
It's hard to discern one. Aiden, what did you think of this movie?
There was a lot of things I noticed. First off, Neil's Ferrari didn't appear, and I know it appears in Double Down.
I think that was
And
Neil's
appeared
friends.
in Fateful Findings. No.
Friends. You don't think it was?
It appeared in 2 movies, and it
I
probably
think it was
appears in
his
this
Rolls
one, too.
Royce that ran him over. Because there's no way he rented like a 90s Rolls Royce and a 90s Ferrari when he probably could have bought those
No,
for cheaper
I'm
than
not
he made
saying.
the movie
I'm
for.
saying the Ferrari is probably his.
I'm
Because
guessing
it
he has a
appears in
friend.
2
Him and
movies.
his
It's
friend.
either his friend or his. He
Here's
could probably
my
afford it.
theory. Here's my theorem. He has the
Not a
old
new
Rolls
Ferrari.
Royce from like this from like the 90s, paid like $40,000 for it, and him and his friend just think they're ballers. They go to like Cool Car Club or something at the VFW.
Because he's an architect in his day job, right?
Yeah, architect is his day job, so he probably met up with his friend at the car thing, and he's like, "Yo, I'm making this movie. It's called Fateful Findings. be in the movie. And he's like, can I show off my Ferrari? And he's like, hell yeah, bro. Like, what do you think I wanted you for?
But regardless, this movie is nowhere close to as good as Fateful Findings. Fateful Findings had a bunch of classic moments, like the scene where Neil Breen is rubbing his friend's blood in his face, and the one where the 16-year-old tries to fuck him, and when the old lady disappears, and when he teleports into the Winnebago and saves his girlfriend. And there's so many scenes in Fateful Findings, everyone killing themselves. Everything in Fateful Findings was like memorable and hilarious. And this scene had a small handful. It was the scene where he throws all the trash out of his Winnebago was hilarious. The mansion scenes on the green screen, which are especially baffling to me because in Fateful Findings he had that interior shot of the mansion that was supposed to be like his therapist's reception area or something. And but instead of just using that again, he made a terrible green screen mansion out of like stock photos.
See, because that was a tiny mansion and he had the little boardroom he did the therapy sessions in. I'm guessing that's his architect firm. I don't know if he owns it or what.
Yeah, so why didn't he use it again?
That's what I'm saying.
Rearrange some of the furniture.
Didn't even have to. He could just use the same furniture. Fuck it. He uses the same hospital set he used in the last movie.
The newsroom scene was kind of funny, but
Didn't bother
outside of
rearrange
that,
that.
a lot of this movie was pretty fucking boring. It's just Neil Breen sitting in the desert. And the scene where the lady takes off her shirt, she has a tiger tramp stamp, is pretty funny too. But for the most part,
didn't actually have any purpose in the film.
this movie, Fateful Findings, had like this convoluted, weird, nonsensical plot, where this one basically didn't have a plot, and it was just Neil Breen sitting in the desert with a drone capturing horrible landscape footage. And it's boring as shit. It's far worse than Fateful Findings on a technical level, and on a plot level, and on a humor level. And I wish that it was funnier because, God, Fateful Findings is hilarious. And it's really mediocre. I mean, I wish I could say something better, but this is more like boring bad than hilariously awkward bad, you know? There's only one suicide in this movie.
Yeah,
Fateful
that's
Findings
disappointing.
had like at least 10
It had
suicides.
like a lot of suicide in that movie.
Everyone was committing suicide in that movie, and that was
But people just turned into
next movie, Twister, whatever, Twisted. Make sure there's lots of suicide. Neil Breen, all the suicide. I want to see people blowing their brains out every scene.
When do you think Neil Breen is gonna have like a Criterion collection on all 4 of the movies in perfect?
When is somebody gonna
$25 for a movie I could easily buy on eBay, the DVD that came out in like 2004 for $7.
When is somebody
But
gonna
now
make an
it's
Ed
$30
Wood version of,
Criterion.
like a Neil Breen version of Ed Wood? Call it Breen.
That's our idea. That's happening. I bet I could play Neil Breen. I would have to James Franco it a bit, where I just look really old, and I'd probably have to
Give
have
yourself
a nicer
some
house.
wrinkles.
It'd be about the creation
No.
of Double Down.
No, you just find one of the alley walkers, one of the homeless people, and be like, "Hey, you want to be my?"
Oh
movie?"
yeah.
I bet Neil Breen would work on it with this.
No, he wouldn't. Not if we didn't paint Dick suck his dick the whole time.
Yeah, but we just need him to interview. He doesn't have to know about the actual movie. I bet if we emailed him, he'd tell us his whole life
he would
story.
tell us his life story.
I know he edits his own Wikipedia page because there's like 3 sentences about how people misrepresented him as an architect or as a real estate agent when he's an architect, and it sounded like it was written by Neil Breen. And I was like,
Probably was. Why not? It's an open source.
but
How many people you think? I bet a lot of people edit their own Wikipedia pages.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? Make yourself
I
sound-
would. It's fucking an easy way because people are like, okay, I'm a fan of Neil Breen's movies. I'm baffled. Now I'm gonna look this up. Probably want to edit to look good.
But yeah, Pass Through is a disappointment. Connor, would you recommend Pass Through?
Well, I would not recommend Pass Through. I recommended highly Fateful Findings, but even for a Breen film, it wasn't funny. It had its moments that were fucking tears in my eyes hilarious, but Fateful Findings was literally the whole time I was crying because the movie was A, so retarded, and B, so baffling that it was constantly funny. This movie doesn't have that luxury. It's almost constantly boring. It's like if Grandpa wanted to make a movie. like Neil Breen was the inventor of the I'm gonna hang up trash sheets and trash bags in my garage and strip down buck fucking naked on
With
lay
this
on the
20-year-old.
floor with a 20-year-old girl. That's an awesome scene. This movie had nothing that compared. It had its Breen moments. You could tell this is a Breen film, but compared to Fateful Findings, my Breenometer was not off the charts. It was like, I was saying Breenometer. But yes, if I had to rank the Breen films that we've so far watched, two Breen films that we've seen so far, Fateful Findings, and then
There's a
Desert,
power
boring
Fateful
movie.
Findings is like this, and Pass Through is like.
Fateful Findings is funnier than The Room. The Room is
Yes,
far
it is.
funnier than this in badness meter. So Aiden, would you recommend Fateful Findings?
No, unfortunately, I would not recommend Pass Through. It is not worth
Buying
your time.
Pass Through.
Fateful Findings watch, Pass Through, unless you've seen the other three. I'm praying that the other three are better than this one.
Yep.
Or the
well,
other
two
two.
are better because we know.
I'm
Fateful
pretty sure
Findings
Double Down
a
is-
masterpiece.
And I know Fateful Findings is, so we're gonna watch another one tonight. Don't watch this. It's really boring, and I'm hoping Twisted is better too. Wolfie, would you recommend?
No, Wolfie. Not would you recommend this, Wolfie? Would you watch the rest of this film?
No. I feel like it wastes my time trying to find this on, like, I'm not gonna pay money for it.
I'm not gonna.
Google. Boy.
It wastes my time to find it,
Your heart fidelity.
and then
Because the pirate is free.
I could find better uses of my time. Would be like hitting things with a hammer would be more productive.
Yeah.
Hitting Neil Breen with the hammer would be more productive.
No, because we don't want to kill Neil Breen just because he has
Okay.
one bad film. Every
You're allowed
director
one.
makes a bad. You know what we have to watch when we're done with the Breemathon? Curse of King Tut's Tomb, because we know that's some comedy gold
You mean
right there.
Merlin's Apprentice?
After the
Merlin's
King Tut.
Dinky Dog.
I'm trying to get rid of the vape. Okay. Sorry about the Neil Breen jump cut there, guys. Our memory card ran out. But Wolfie, would you watch the rest of Neil Breen's Pass Through? That's what I was looking for. Would you watch the rest of Pass Through?
No. It'd just be a waste of time to watch it. I already watched the end of it, so, you know. It'd just be harder to find and waste my time.
Good to go. Next episode of Breenathon, we're watching something.
I am here now.
I can't remember these fucking stupid ass names. Alright. We'll see you on the next Breenathon.